Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But for the first time, I am going through the show looking for what it is trying to teach us. What are those sci-fi messages? What are the lessons that it is holding up a mirror to society? Is it giving us hope that things will be better in the future? Or is it just teaching us how to be better human beings to one another?
I'm excited to find out. We are diving into the episode Family today. And my prediction last episode was that Family was going to be our first look at the Jackson family. We're going to see Shara for the first time since Children of the Gods. Eager to see if I'm right. Brent, tell us a little bit about Family.
This episode, Season 2, Episode 8, titled Family, originally aired August 14th, 1998. I believe, I didn't look it up. I believe that means there was like a week or two break between this and the last episode that came before it. I could be wrong. Nope, doesn't look like it. It was actually completely cut all of that out. So August 14th, 1998, right in a row. This is a Catherine Powers episode, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
The last we saw her work was on Thor's Chariot, which was actually just like 2 episodes ago for us. She's got one more episode here in season 2, and then we'll catch up with her once or twice throughout the remaining seasons. Other than that, that's all I got for you on the preamble of the show. It is time to go watch the episode, my friend.
Right now.
Yeah, we're going to do it. If you're joining us for the very first time, the way this works is Jeff and I are going to go watch the episode right now for the first time. If you're going to be joining us on YouTube, you're going to catch the reaction version of this. And if you happen to be on Patreon, you're going to get the full unedited reaction.
And if you're listening to us on an audio podcasting app, you're about to jump into the future. You're going to catch us after we watch the episode, where I'm going to give my for the first time reactions, and Brent's going to share those sci-fi messages that he digs out of this one. Brent, let's head through the game.
Terrafan 7 locked.
It's Braytak. He really needs his own iris code. Using SG-1's almost got him blown away. And good thing he wasn't. He's here to tell Teal'c 2 pretty messed up things. First, his son, Ryak, has been kidnapped. And second, he was kidnapped by Apophis. Yeah, turns out he isn't dead after all. He and Chlorel both escaped the blast and are on Chulak, which is where we're headed as well. They go to see Teal'c's wife, Dryak, but she's not living among the Sholva anymore. Now she's living with an old buddy of Teal'c's, Frotak. Seems like everyone thought everybody was dead. We all thought Apophis was dead. Teal'c thought Frotak was dead, and both Frotak and Dryak thought Teal'c was dead. And turns out they're all alive. Oh, and Frotak married Dryak. And Teal'c is pissed. If not for Braytak, Frotak would be in about 1 million pieces after Teal'c got done with him. Braytak and O'Neill calm things down and keep an eye on Frotak. After that lovely family reunion, we're on the rescue attempt, and it don't go well at all. SG-1 busts into the palace. They find Ryak pretty easily, but he freaks out and calls for the guards. He calls Teal'c Sholva, and they barely escape. Then, one of those globy communication devices lights up, and we see Apophis, with Ryak sitting on his lap. Ryak publicly denounces his dad. Then he puts a price on Teal'c's head as well. That night, Dryak explains she only married Frotak for hers and Ryak's safety, and that she still loves Teal'c. They kiss, and Frotak sees it go down. Now a jilted lover, he heads to the palace to turn Teal'c in. But O'Neill has been watching Frotak watch Teal'c, and he follows him. In the palace, little fracas ensues, and Jack zats Frotak 3 times. He is more than dead now. O'Neill sneaks away in a Serpent Guard costume, making his way back to the team. They run another rescue attempt in the morning. This time, it's a success. Turns out Ryak was just playing along with the brainwashing the whole time. They head back to the SGC, a happy family. Until Dryak notices that Ryak's 2 missing teeth aren't missing anymore. Dr. Frazier goes dental on him and pulls him out. Ryak freaks out and tries to bite down on the fake teeth. He wasn't playing along with the brainwashing at all. He's totally under the sway of Apophis. Says that Apophis is his god. He was sent here to release a virus that was kept in the teeth that would have taken less than a week to spread around the world. Total annihilation. They try to figure out how to break the brainwashing, and Teal'c knows there's probably only one way to do it. He walks into his room with Dryak and does the thing he needs to do. He shoots his son, Ryak, in the back of the head with a Zat gun. Once. And he's cured. He doesn't remember any of the unpleasantness at all. Then Teal'c's family heads off to the land of light with Tupelo, and there they're going to live in safety.
All right, Jeff, that was Family. I got to tell you, I was shocked to see the two people at the end, brothers, fighting in a vineyard.
And then laughing, all covered in mud.
Right?
I mean, how does that happen?
Shakespearean level Royal Theater actors just covered in mud.
I think the thing that surprised me the most, though, was the fact that Teal'c was trying to talk Jack out of taking that job down under the, trying to unearth Atlantis or whatever. Like, hey, and there's a Stargate Atlantis. Oh, there's layers to that one.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. All right, Jeff, we're talking about the SG-1 episode Family. What'd you think?
We've talked in the past about how much I love hot dogs. Huge hot dog fan, right? And I'm not going to take this whole podcast and talk about them. I just want you, Brent, and anyone watching or listening to picture a hot dog, right? So you've got the tube of meat, you got a nice soft bun around it, maybe some toppings.
I'm sorry, the tube of meat.
It's what it is. It's a protein tube. That's all it is.
That's what she said. All right, tell us about your tube of meat, Jeff. And remember, this is supposed to be a family-friendly show.
Nothing I like more than taking a tube of meat and shoving it. I'm going to bring that back.
Gosh. Oh, my God. You did not.
For real, though, hot dogs are delicious. When I was a kid, we were quite poor. And so, like, we ate the government cheese, all that stuff. That was an experience I had. So oftentimes we would have hot dogs for dinner, but instead of getting, like, the buns, we'd put the hot dog just in a piece of bread.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? Now, all these years later, it's almost a comfort food, for me. But, like, at the time, I even knew, like, hey, this isn't really how you're supposed to eat a hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, the core of it, the hot dog of the episode, the story of Ryak and Teal'c and Dryak, the family, right? That family is beautiful. It was a beautiful story that was surprisingly well acted and came out well. But the stuff around that really cool story, it wasn't bad, but it was kind of a piece of bread. So a good hot dog that I enjoy eating, but just some stuff around it that was kind of like, really, really. So specifically, Ryak is apparently brainwashed by Apophis.
Yep.
The guy who died like 8 episodes ago.
Yep.
But didn't. Yeah.
Yep.
Somehow brainwashed, didn't know that was a thing that they did in the Gould world, and then they have to break the brainwashing, the whole brainwashing thing just didn't work for me. I get that they had to put Ryak in this weird state so, he could hate his mom and his dad, and he could all this stuff and be set as a biological weapon, but it just didn't hold a lot of water the way they did it. And as I said that, what a stupid plan. We're going to go through all the work to abduct this kid, brainwash him, program him so that he can go through the Stargate and get to Earth. And we're going to put all of our cards on one weapon. Like, oh, we took the teeth out. Oh, so now he's got nothing. What a stupid plan.
Well, didn't Teal'c say that the Gould's downfall is their pride?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Their overconfidence. Like,
what more would I need than these biological weapons I'm sending across?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot shoved into this episode. We met Frotak, and I feel like there's a huge missed opportunity Dude should have had an afro.
Oh, Jeff.
So there's that weird setup, right? So Addryc didn't know. He thought Teal'c was probably dead. Didn't know he was going to come back. So she, what do they say? She nullified the marriage. They used some term.
Nullified the marriage, yeah.
Used some term for it. But basically she's like, yeah, he's probably dead, so I'm not going to be married anymore. Hooked up with Frotak, old friend of Teal'c's. Teal'c comes in and sees this.
I'm sorry. Can we just, did she really think that he was dead, or did she use that as an excuse with which to nullify the marriage so that she could get together with Frotak to provide better life for her son?
I think either way, she did the extremely honorable and compassionate thing of hooking up with Frotak. And that sounds awful, right? But she didn't love Frotak. She gave up, we talked about it during the episode, she gave up her body, she gave up her dignity, all for the opportunity for a better life for her son. And you and I know mothers like this. You watching or listening might be one of those mothers or know mothers like that. This is why moms are some of the most amazing people ever. There are dads out there who've done the same, and they're amazing also. But I think there's just something magical about the connection and what a woman will do for their kid.
You know, it's amazing to me to think about how judged someone can be for doing kind of what they have to get by. But in a situation like this, like it almost feels like we're going down the realm of prostitution. She's prostituting herself out in order to catch all of this stuff, but she's doing it for her kid, right? And I'm not here to judge whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. That is not my job. But I will say this: never once have I ever heard anyone ever criticize Forrest Gump's mother for doing what she did to get her kid in school.
Yeah.
Never once has that ever been a thing. Now we can judge the dude, the principal. We can judge the man. We might even could judge Frotak here.
Uh-huh.
You know, because Frotak had to know what's up. Does Frotak really blind? Is he really like, oh yeah, she loves me, she's good, I'm in love with her, and she's my wife now, and we're happy together, and oh, now she's cheating on me, so I'm gonna go run and tell everybody? Like, really, Frotak? Like, really?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Before we gate into the rest of this episode, did you know you're missing most of the content from this podcast? Stargate SG-1 for the first time has an active and exciting Patreon that you can join right now by clicking the link in the show notes. Not only will you get access to the full, unedited podcast and reaction videos, you'll also be able to join a growing, vibrant, maybe even an intergalactic community. Subscribers even get access to all of our content from Babylon 5 for the first time. Don't miss out on this content and the amazing people. Just click the link in the show notes. Teal'c thinks you should do it right now.
Indeed.
Frotak's the real villain in this. Apophis is Apophis, doing what Apophis does, going after the Sholva, right? And that, if you believe you're a god, it completely makes sense for you to go after the people that are traitors to your faith and your cause. So there's Apophis. Ryak, brainwashed, had no control over this whole thing. Frotak's the bad guy in this whole thing. And I think we learned that the Jaffa have a bro code.
They do. They have a bro code.
And Frotak straight up disregarded it. Disgusting. I'm glad that Jack hit him with that third Zat gun shot.
Man, he just that's what happens to everyone. That should be what happens to everyone who violates bro code.
Seriously.
We take that thing serious. We take bro code serious.
You get one shot, right? And if you say, yes, I'm going to do this thing, boom, now you get 3 shots. Like, you get one opportunity, one shot to do the right thing, and that turns into 3 shots if you don't do it. Yeah, he was kind of awful. But the mechanism he had that I thought was great, and I talked about this a lot, what a messed up situation, because Addryc was right, Teal'c was right, and in a way, Frotak was right too. I believe he's taking advantage of Addryc, and he's taking good care of her, taking good care of her son, providing a safe place for Sholva, right? These people are the worse than the cast out. And now they have a beautiful home. They're well fed, well dressed, protected, protected to the point that they can abduct, Ryak and the whole thing. But I think like Drak was right to try and do the right thing for her kid. Teal'c is right to be furious that all this is happening. There's so much hurt happening, but everybody's kind of doing the thing that they should be doing.
Well, I was going to say, so, we've criticized Frotak here for violating bro code. Okay. But listen, bro code notwithstanding, dudes having crushes on their friends' girls is not uncommon.
True.
Turns out your bros, you have similar tastes. Maybe you like the same kind of girl.
Maybe you spend a lot of time together and,
maybe all of that's there. If something were to happen to me, I would hope that somebody would take care of my wife and my children. And I'm not stupid. That means, marrying my wife and all the things that come along with that. And even like it, and I would hope that, it would be somebody who's good to my family.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was one of my friends that he's doing like, hey, I'm doing this for your family. I'm going to bring them in and now they're going to be married. And that entails all that it entails. The part that's just so disgusting to me and where Frotak really violates everything is when he sees Drak and Teal'c kissing and then he gets all in his feels and he runs away to turn in his friend.
Yeah.
He could go have a conversation with Teal'c, be like, yo, dude, she's not your wife anymore. I know, this is new to you. We're trying to figure this out. Drak, we're going to have some, I know there's still feelings here. We're going to have to figure all this out. But he went and turned in his friend. And that's disgusting.
Well, I think to your point during the episode, that should have been a conversation between Drak and Frotak.
Yeah.
Right from go. Hey, dude's back. Let's check in. Let's talk about this. Let's have some, boundaries, some agreements about this whole thing.
Do the thing that married people need to do. Communicate, have those conversations, be open. Yeah.
The situation with all the people though, because they're all like, no one is wrong, but everyone is hurt. Right. And so like, how is that possible? It reminds me of Picard in Peak Performance. Right, where he says it's possible to make no mistakes and still lose. That's not weakness, baby. That's just life. And I think like in Star Trek, that was kind of a high concept, right? We're talking about commanding a ship and all the things that go into strategy or whatever. Here in this episode, we got it as close and personal as you possibly can. 3 people who did the right things, really, and it still sucked. And then Frotak went too far. But all of that made sense to tell the story. And the core of this story was Teal'c and his family were separated. Ryak was heartbroken because dad left and he didn't come back. Drak was lost and confused and didn't know what she had to do. Now they're back. They've reconciled that, and Teal'c has a family again. They're on Tupelo. They're safe now, for what we can tell. They're going to have a level of protection. A good outcome for the whole, for everybody, really. The big takeaway, of course, being that Apophis is not dead. So we have that. Apophis is still a thing. I have one question that I might have just missed, but Ryak is losing his mind, right? I hate you. You suck. You're the worst. He keeps calling Teal'c a Hataka. What is Hataka?
We don't know.
Okay.
They never, we just assume it's a bad thing.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe it's marked for death or, has a price on his head. Because, dude, he's got a huge price on his head. I thought it was interesting that Apophis, a god, has to have a monetary, like, hey, I'll give you $1 million, whatever it is that we spend here, if you go bring me this guy. As opposed to, I am your god, and I am commanding you to go and bring me this person.
Well, but we have established, though, that Apophis does reward loyalty. And, he gave Teal'c this house, which, by the way, wasn't a terrific house, but it wasn't whatever Frotak's in. Like, it was a cottage compared to what Frotak is in.
Frotak's some sort of like hedge fund investor on Chulak or something. He's making other people's money.
You didn't really think they were all warriors.
Yeah, no.
Like somebody's got to be the scientist of the group. Somebody's got to make the weapons and design those. And
all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it might be one of my favorite Catherine Powers ones.
oh wow,
I've been kind of harsh on hers with the pacing and stuff, and this
yeah, you have.
episode definitely had areas where the pacing wasn't the best, but it wasn't as distracting as it's been in the Thor duology that we've had so far. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I'm curious though, what did you think of this one watching it through the sci-fi lens?
Yeah, well, before we get to that, just for the record, no For Crying Out Loud, no Daniel deaths, and we're not talking about the other thing just yet. So, yeah, there were two things that I really kind of nailed down on. We've already talked about it a little bit, so let me pull it in here. I thought this episode was a really good examination, and for the record, I tend to not like this episode. This is a skip for me on rewatches.
Wow.
I don't think it's particularly well acted, particularly with the kid.
Dude, the kid, at least in that one scene.
The one scene, he's great. But overall, like, he feels very Alexander Rodchenko to me. Like, it's very wooden, very,
Also, horrible writing for both Ryak and Alexander. They were, I think that as child actors, they were doing the best they could with the garbage they were handed.
Sure. It just, nothing sounds like a kid, the way a kid talks. Father, mother, this, that. Yeah. Right. Like, it just, that's not how it sounds. So I tend to skip this episode, but I thought, as I was really like, this is a really good examination of the love of a parent. And so what I'm going to drill down here is one of the things as we talk about holding up a mirror to society, right? And even showing us how we can be better to one another. I think this is all about how to be a better parent, or maybe just an encouragement to be a better parent, because there's the sacrifices that we make as parents, despite everything else that is happening. We've already talked about Addryc. She's willing to sacrifice her body, her dignity, the love of her life being Teal'c, maybe even her reputation. I mean, they didn't really discuss it, like what happens to her reputation as a result of this.
True.
But her own self dignity, because she says, I don't love him. This is not something I'm doing for love. This is solely for the reason of Ryak and doing what I have to do for Ryak. Now, she could have grown to love him. It might have been an okay situation, but she said this, I made vows I could not keep. If I could amend that, I made vows that when Teal'c is around, I knew I could not keep.
Mm-hmm.
But she did what she felt like she needed to do to get Ryak where he needed to be. And if she got to live in that cool big house too, then so be it.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, doesn't suck.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, right? Doesn't hurt. But I think that is an incredible love, that a mother goes through, and as the son of a stepfather, as a stepson to a stepfather, there was a point in life when my mom, and I was her only child, where she needed to do what was best for me.
Okay.
Now, when she married my father, my stepfather, I know she loved him. I know that all of those pieces were very true. But I also know now as an adult, she was trying to find a good situation, not just for herself, but also for me, to make sure I had a father figure growing up in the household, to make sure that those sorts of things happen. And, anybody who would have fit that bill had to be somebody who was okay with a pre-started family. It couldn't be someone else. And the reasons, and I'm not going to go into my entire family history, but the reasons my biological father was not around was because it was not good for me and her both to be in that situation. So she left, mostly because, like, you kind of do that thing like, hey, if it's just me, I can take it. We can work this out. I got a kid. I can't fool around with that anymore. It was that kind of a situation.
The stakes change tremendously when there's a kid.
Exactly. For her. Right. So love of a mother, willing to do something. For Teal'c, love of a father. I mean, look, Teal'c is going to sacrifice everything. His entire mission to free the Jaffa is second fiddle to what's going on with his son, as it should be. As it should be. He's willing to sacrifice everything. He's willing to sacrifice his life, his safety. I don't care. I'm going after my son. Tells us to go meet him there, then I'm going to go meet him there. It does not matter. I'm going to meet my son.
It's a trap. Yep. And I'm going.
Exactly. Even to the point that in the end, he would hurt his son, to save his son. It's a sacrifice I cannot even begin to imagine. Jeff, this is one of those, I'm going to go back, the most hated episode of Babylon 5 we ever did, hands down, was Believers.
Oh, yeah.
And spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen that. In the end, the parents, the overly religious parents, killed their son, whom they considered to be dead already. They just killed his physical body because they figured his soul was already dead. Now, I can criticize that. I will criticize that up, down, left, and right. But the one thing I can say is, in the minds of those parents, that kid was already gone. And the best thing they could do for him was to not dishonor him by allowing his body to walk around without a soul.
They were doing a service. Yeah, they were helping him.
Yeah, it's awful. That's disgusting. It's not the way that this should go. And we can criticize all of that. But I think the one thing we can't criticize was their intention. Their love for their son was there. All right. So I think we get that. And I think this is an episode that really talks about how the lengths to which a parent is going to go for their child, and how important love is. However, this episode was called Family. This is not an episode just about the parents. The parents by themselves don't make a complete family. We now have to look at Ryak. Talk about a mirror to society. Ryak's love for his father, Ryak's love for his mother. Ryak was so in love with his father that when his father betrayed him by not coming home, because Teal'c said, I'm coming home, and when he didn't come home, and I assume that where they really felt like he wasn't coming home was after the whole battle with Apophis, and they thought maybe he died on that ship.
That makes sense.
Like, I assume that's where it was. Could have been somewhere else. They've been gone less than a year. This has been like less than half a year since we've seen them. Like, come on, how much time are you really going to give the guy, right? But we assume. When I know this, when a young man loses his father, maybe even a grandfather, it's a real tenuous time, because in his heart, in his mind, he can make vows, he can make decisions for himself. I have a friend of mine whose name's Todd, who his father died when he was real young. And he sort of made this thing to himself. He's like, I'm on my own now. And he lived the next 30 years of his life as a loner, never trusting anybody, never letting anybody be that kind of mentor father figure to him. And it was something that carried in well into adulthood for him, you know, and part of his story. And Todd's doing great now, and he's an amazing person. And I've learned so much from Todd, but that's his story. I'll let him tell it more in detail if anybody ever wants to find this mysterious guy named Todd I'm talking about. Teal'c broke his promise. Now, it might have been for good reason, Jeff. Might have even been a little bit beyond Teal'c's control, but kids don't get that.
Nope.
Kids don't understand that. What they know is Dad's not here.
Said he was going to be here, not here.
I mentioned my stepfather, my biological father. The number of times my biological father told me as a kid, hey, I'm coming to see you. I'm coming to see you. And he'd never show up. I know that pain. I know what that is. This is a message to parents to be better parents.
Right.
When I sit back and I go, okay, a mirror to society. How do we be better people to each other? This is a mirror, because the love of parents for their children is inescapable. The love of a child to his parents is damaging when that gets betrayed, and we have to be better. They don't always understand why. Children don't. What they need, though, is their father. I could extend this, their mother. They need their father. They need their father's presence. They need him around. They need his love in their life. Not just, oh, my dad's off way over there doing something and I know he loves me because he's way out there. No, the kid needs to be able to look up and see their dad in the stands.
They need love as an action word, not a descriptor, but the action.
Not to just know, he's just going to have to know that I love him. No, you need to be there. You need to show up for the games. Don't send somebody from the office, Peter Banning, to take a video of it. You got to be there, because your word is your bond, or it'll be a junk bond. 10 points to anyone who catches that reference. Jeff, you got it?
No.
Hook.
Oh, yeah. I don't care for that movie.
Oh, you and I are not friends anymore.
Mostly because of Rufio, but...
Rufio! Oh. Physicality. Physically. Children need their parents. They need their fathers. Proximity. Got to be there. I think that's really a lot of where this episode was going. Ryak says it best at the very end. Oh, we're with father? Then to me, we're home.
Yeah.
It means so much. Ryak meant so much to his parents. His parents clearly meant so much to each other. And his parents meant so much to Ryak. Jeff, part of grading these chevrons is how intentional that message is. Is this what the writer set down and intended? I believe that is what it is.
It's the hot dog.
Yeah, it is. As not well executed as I personally tend to think this episode is, except a few bright spots. Like there are some bright spots I'm like, that's great. But I'm giving this one, I want to say 4 chevrons, but I could make this 5 real easy, Jeff. I could make it 5 real easy. And I can't, yeah. Okay, I'll go with you on that. I'll go 5 chevrons on this one.
It's a good call.
I think it's a big one. I think it's a big episode. It's all right there.
Not only is it big, it's important. Like there's the message, how well it was delivered. And this doesn't come into the grading, but it's added context. Like it's such a needed message. I don't care if you and your child's their parent are together. I don't care if you hate each other. Your kid is more important than that. Like, oh, I hate that person and I never want to see or talk to them again. Get over it. Go to the ball game, sit on the other side of the bleachers, whatever you need to do, you be there for your kid. Period. Full stop. That's it.
Well, Jeff, with that, I guess that's going to bring us down to not the rating, but the ranking. And that job falls to you, my friend. You get to take this episode and put it into our 100% completely accurate and definitive season 2 ranking of Stargate SG-1. Our top 5 as it stands. I'm real curious where Jeff Akin is going to put this in. Not Brent Allen, but Jeff Akin. First episode, number 1, best episode of the season premiere, Serpent's Lair. Second best episode, Thor's Chariot. Third best is In the Line of Duty. That's the one where we got Jolinar. Number 4, Message in a Bottle from last week, where little machine thingy shoots Jack in the shoulder. And then episode 5, which is called Need. You have that as your top 5. Then you have Gamekeeper and Prisoners. Jeff, where are you placing this one, family?
I enjoyed this episode. I described it in a pretty fun way, I think. But like I said, the wrapper to the hot dog was a piece of bread. And it brings it down for me a bit. There have been some really great episodes. And in fact, even the ones that, the only one I really haven't liked was Prisoners. I just did, no. Mm-hmm. I still have my issues with Gamekeeper, but it wasn't terrible. In fact, it's not terrible, but this one's better than Gamekeeper.
Okay.
What it's not better than is Need.
Mm.
So Family is going to be our new number 6.
I think that's fair.
Thanks. I think it's immutable and correct.
There you go. I like it. All right, Jeff. Well, that is going to do it for us. That is going to put a pin into the episode titled Family. Would you like to know what we're watching next week?
I sure do. I'm a little nervous. I feel a lot of pressure on these predictions now. So
yes, and you better get this one right. The title of the episode is Secrets. Jeff, what you got?
I would love to tell you what this next episode's going to be about, but I can't.
I thought you were going to say Sha're again, because you have been begging for Sha're for since the season finale, because you're like, the season finale is going to be Sha're. It's a year. They gave it to us. It's been a year. It's got to be Sha're. You said this one was Sha're. I just want I want you to be in that spot where you're going to stick with Sha're until it happens.
Well, the secret is, of course, that Apophis is back, and so is Sha're, I guess. I don't know. I'll say Sha're, but honestly, my guess is...
No, don't say Sha're because I said that. What's your guess?
I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Oh, you're going to go that route. Okay. I got to respect that. Well, we'll see if Jeff's secret prediction is right next time.
You got to tune in next week to find out.
Jeff, did you get your secret prediction right? Yep.
It's so weird. I totally
nailed it. Every beat.
Thing is, though, I have to reveal what my prediction was before we watch the episode. So I have to figure out how to work my way around that.
Basically, you just bought yourself a week's worth of time to think about it. Is what you just did. Well, we'll find out if Jeff's time to think about it is going to pay off next time right here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. and hanging out with Jeff with Jeff and I for the last, probably depending on which version of this you're watching, 30 minutes to like an hour and a half. Hey, please don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a super ton. And while you're out there, if you're in a spot where they can leave ratings and reviews, please feel free to do that. We love receiving those. We love getting to read those, and we will make sure we do that. And also, please be sure to share this podcast with somebody you know who loves Stargate SG-1, or someone who, like my friend Jeff, needs to get into the gate, needs to climb the ramp, needs to dial the gate, lock in those chevrons.
Open the iris.
There you go. You know what I mean? So until next time, folks, we'll see you then.
Hey, Brent.
And yeah, Jeff.
You're talking about, wrapping this up, and one thing I can't get this off my mind, dude. Frotac, man. I am going to knock that mother Gould out if I ever have the chance.
You really went there? For crying out loud, Jeff.